Okay, now that we know what audit is, what assurance is, and the elements, let us move on to level of assurance that we could obtain. Levels of assurance that we could obtain when carry out audit and assurance services. Please note, it's only in audit that we can have reasonable level of assurance or high level of assurance. Reasonable level of assurance or high level of assurance can be achieved only by audit engagement. Assurance services, the best we could have will be limited level of assurance. Please, we should not forget that. And the reason is this: audit is methodical, is procedural, is regulated, and because of all this in audit work gives it a leverage to have high level of assurance. But for assurance services in which it is not regulated and highly dependent on the competence of the practitioner, the best we could have is limited or low level of assurance. Please note, in no case, whether in audit engagement or in assurance services, can we achieve absolute assurance. We cannot have absolute assurance. And somebody may ask, why is it that whether in audit or in assurance services we could not achieve absolute level of assurance? And this may be an examinable question. Basically, one of the fundamental reasons is this: audit, as thorough as it is, I said before, is methodical, it follows processes, logic, is procedural. But even with that, it dwells on sampling. That is, majority of the time, auditors don't carry out 100% vouching, 100% verification, and the like. And because we do not do this oftentimes, how can we achieve absolute when absolute work is not being carried out? So this is one of the fundamental reasons we could not achieve absolute assurance. And we equally know that absolute is outside this world. Okay, yeah, let's quickly touch on classes or types of audit. Classes or types of audit. We will move on to some types of assurance related services soon. Well, let's quickly dwell on types of audits and classes. Basically, it could be classified into two: by nature and by method of approach. And by nature, it could be statutory and it could be private, even though I put internal audit there. But internal audit can be in between the two, whether by method or by nature. Okay, so statutorily, the public interest organizations are the ones that are mandated to audit, like the PSC of this world in Nigeria. Every other organization, they are going to fall under the category of private audit. So, therefore, if an organization is not mandated by law to audit or present audited financials, it falls under private. But if they are mandated statutorily, it becomes a statutory audit. So the second classification is by method of approach, that is in which auditor executes the assignment. It could be by final audit, it could be by interim audit. A practitioner could approach audits by continuous audit, procedural audit, balance sheet audit, management audit. Okay. What is final audit? It simply means audit carried out at the year end. Final audit simply means audit carried out at year end. And majority of the time, we do see our auditor come around our organization, probably at the beginning of the year, to carry out last year's audit. Interim audit is an audit that is segmented, divided into portions of the year. It could be biannual, quarterly, semi-annual, monthly, and like. Those are interim audits. Like, for example, the banking industry, they must give, I think, quarterly reports and the like. So they must have interim audit done to validate the financial quarterly. Continuous audit. Continuous audit simply means audits non-stop. Audit that is rolling, a rolling audit. And this word is already gravitating towards continuous audit. We can equally say it's a real-time audit. So the word is gravitating towards continuous audit, that is non-stop audit. Now, real-time audit, as transactions are being carried out, verification and the like are also being laid upon it. Procedural audit. This is a process audit. Please don't forget, this is a process audit. Procedural audit follows a particular process from the beginning to the end and verify that it is accurately conducted. That is, the transaction is accurately conducted as the process has been laid down by the management. That is procedural audit. Balance sheet audit is not that common. It's the rarest of all the methods, simply because it carries the highest auditor's liability. Balance sheet audit is a situation in which we carry in our hands the statement of financial position and only audit based on the figures on the statement of financial position, as we call it now. Management audit, last but not the least among them listed here. Management audit is a very broad audit. It's a very broad audit in the sense that it examines every aspect of the organizational life or operations. So it deals with the HR audit, financial audit, procurement audit. It deals with IT audit. Anything that is going on within the organization as a unit must be examined. And this is a very broad audit assignment. It could equally fall under consulting engagement. The advantage of all these types, whether by nature or by approach, some are similar, some vary depending on what we are talking about. We are talking about the final audit now. Is easy to execute, to plan and conduct, because auditor just need to come once and for all. So it minimizes costs, inconvenience of staff and the like. Of course, the merit of it is, apart from the fee, delay may be there in finalizing the audit, and the regulator deadline may not be met, because that means we have to wait until the year end before we start to do the 12 months work. So, and if auditor will not be able to finish on time and meet the deadline, so the consequence may be penalty from the regulator. Interim audit, that one too is very good. So interim audit can help us to quickly meet the deadline because it's already partitioned, and that means at the end of the year 3 quarters will have been done. We are only waiting for the last leg of the year, which is easier to audit than the 12 months. So it speeds up the final audit. Publication of interim audits like the banking industry quarterly financial release is made possible. It keeps company staff in check too, because they know that auditor is going to come soon and the like. It is time consuming. That is one of the major disadvantages of interim audit. Continuous audit, it has its advantage. Errors are easily detected fast. It makes equally final audit easier because audit is being laid upon the transaction, so it's easier to finalize because a lot had been done during the year. That's if continuous audit is merged together alongside with the final audit. The disadvantage: figures may be altered fraudulently, and this is because they know that, okay, auditor has come and worked on this and had gone. Meanwhile, the transaction still continues. So somebody can go back to what auditor has done and quickly alter it. Meanwhile, auditor has moved on to the current transaction because it's continuous. And there are a lot of check and balances, especially when it comes to IT, that could be done on this. But this one will be studied in later chapter. Okay, balance sheet audit has its own advantage too, because it's faster to execute. Balance sheet audit is faster to execute. We don't need to go through the ledgers, trial balance and the like checker. We are only auditing the statement of financial position. And the demerit, especially on the part of the practitioner, is it carries heavy duty liability. Heavy duty liability. Okay, let's move on now to some of the assurance engagement services. Okay, yeah, here we are.